Hello everybody and welcome back. This is Not a Pro Gardener here, and today we're going to be doing kind of an update of the garden and the high tunnel and the greenhouse, whatever we can get our hands on today. Today we definitely have something going on. We got to check out this cover crop back here, see how it's doing, and we're going to just check on a lot of things around the farm, just kind of see what's going on. And we're going to be making a few no-till beds today, and hopefully that works out pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and see the current state of this cover crop. We're going to mow it down as low as we can, and then we're going to hopefully get the compost down here to make 4 beds and see how that goes. We're going to do it about 3 inches thick or so, just depends on how much it ends up being. It's about 50 degrees today, and it's the first weekend in February, so we're starting to get this stuff going. I'm sure everybody heard about the groundhog not seeing his shadow, so I'm glad that we started a few things early this year. So we're going to try to start moving things up by a week, just to kind of make sure we get everything done as soon as we can. If we do have an early spring, which is predicted, then I'll be right on track. If not, I'll kind of dial back a little bit and let my plants rest for another week before I plant them. So we're just gonna see how it goes and make the decision that we think is best. I'm take a few risks, might not take a few risks. Boy, if anybody can tell, I'm a little under the weather today, but it's not so bad. So we're gonna go ahead and show you the cover crop state, and we're just going to kind of take you along so you can see what we got going on. Let's check it out. All right, so as you can see, these are our bunching onions. These are for the market farm. We got some deep purple here we've done before we really like, and these new, the ones that we're doing this year, are Ishikura bunching onions, something of that nature. We've already cut the tops off once. Now we're just out here acclimating them to the temperature. And what makes it so much easier is having a nice little cart like this. Keeps me from having to walk all these trays out here, because I'm going to be doing about 6 at a time here in a couple weeks to acclimate them, just to kind of make it easier on the wrist, and it definitely is a lot nicer. So anybody that needs a little help carrying a bunch of trays out at once, I got some 10 by 20s that I'm using. Instead of these bigger trays here, I'm doing mostly 10 by 20s this year because they're easier for me to carry around and mess with, not as heavy. And this will help me keep from accidentally dropping trays as well. This little cart is going to help me out a lot. It's kind of like an insurance, so keep that in mind if you need a little help. Okay, so as you can see, we've had a frost, a pretty heavy frost. A lot of the foliage got burnt back pretty bad. It was like, I think it was like either -1 or 0 degrees at one point. It didn't stay like that for over a day, but as you can see, these peas in here are definitely burnt up real good. Winter rye looks like it's doing pretty good. The hairy vetch is coming back. That's pretty hardy stuff. And we definitely have a few sticks in here we'll try to get out at another time, but this year we're definitely going to try to not till as much as we can. So it's going to be a little difficult. We're going to try something new this year to see if it works. I'm a little worried about the winter rye. Sometimes you got to till that stuff in chop it up pretty good to get that root system broke up, but we're going to give it a shot this year on just cultivating after we tarp it to see if that can take care of it for us. So we're going to mow this off, and then we're going to build. Let me take a step back and show you what we're going to do here. Okay, so this was the border of the garden. We're going to take this raised bed out right here. We're going to extend it to this side of it. We're going to do 30-inch beds, about a 10-inch aisle, which is going to be cramped, but we're going to try to squeeze as much food in here as we can. And this is going to maximize my growing space as well, just going to lose some of my aisle space. So we're going to see how we like it this year. So on this left side, we're going to do hopefully some really nice flowers, and then a 30-inch bed. And then on starting here, we're going to do our compost beds. We should be able to do 4 30-foot beds by 30 inches wide from starting here going this way, which should be about 4 beds hopefully right here, you know, and then the rest is going to be 30-inch beds, but I'm going to mechanically cultivate with my tine weeder to try to suppress the weeds, hopefully. So hopefully the lawnmower can chop this stuff up. Tarping it will help it break down and get rid of all that. And as we plant, I'll uncover the tarp and leave this side covered until I need it. So that's kind of the plan of what we got going on. So let's get to it. All right, everybody. So this is the compost pile. Pretty good size. Supposed to be about a little over 4 cubic yards. Has no smell. Little wood chippy. It was said to be screened, so it's not as bad as the compost I got last year. Seems to be pretty good stuff, but don't take it from me. I'm not an expert. I'm definitely not a pro gardener. This is my idea. What I'm going to do, it's going to require compacting the garden a little bit with my Ranger here, but all I did was doubled this over this vinyl tarp, this really old one that I got, and I sandwiched it in between there with 3 clamps. Run a webbing strap through there. Use it as a little trailer. I do this for raking leaves, as I put a piece of plastic out, long one, and rake some leaves onto it and drag the plastic, which drags all the leaves for me. So I'm gonna see if it works for this compost. I'm thinking I can do about 15 foot at a time, maybe. If I just pile it onto here all the way along, pull it through the garden where I want the bed, just rake it off of there onto the bed. So I should be able to rake it off of here onto here, pull this hopefully where I want it, and then just rake it off into the position I want it to without using a shovel. Hopefully, we'll see. Might have to use a shovel at some point, but this is how big this compost pile is. Pretty good size. Had them dump it on this other old vinyl tarp I got here, so let's see if this works. I almost forgot to show you guys this, but these are the 4 beds that we have deemed to try to be no-till, just to try to show an experiment, see what I like better, mechanical cultivation or kind of a no-till situation. So we did about 3 to 4 inch tall beds here. They're like 30, a little over 30 foot long, 30-inch beds, like a 10-inch aisle in between. That way I can fit my low tunnels over 2 beds is the way I got it set up for now. This is the plan, and I hope it's gonna work. Gonna do a row of spinach direct seeded here, hopefully. Gonna do 4 rows of Salanova lettuce mix in here. And then we're gonna hope to get 2 things of carrots direct seeded in here. We're gonna do about 1.5 inches apart, wheel to wheel spacing for my Haas cedar. So stay tuned for those videos if you're interested. You'll get to see how I set it all up and all that stuff. Other than that, these are going to be mainly for stuff that's hard to weed in the in-ground garden, like spinach and carrots. You got to compete with weeds really bad, and this is my solution to that. We're just going to try to no-till it, or at the very least, minimal till. This is more like a mulch for me to get away from the weeds to grow better crops. So I'm pretty sure this is going to work. We're going to put 2 drip lines on top of the beds, or as needed. And then over here, as you can see, I got this one metal bed over here, that raised bed. That's going to come out. We're going to extend the garden to the edge of that all the way down, and we're going to make kind of like a hedgerow here of flowers. A bunch of flowers is what I'm hoping, maybe even some herbs. Then I'm gonna have an extra 30-inch bed I can make here, and I'll just kind of put extra stuff in there, you know, stuff that I can weed around with my mechanical cultivation, stuff like that. So we're kind of dedicating this year towards the market farm. Most of the stuff's going to be for growing. Our market locally is from May 1st, I believe, to like October. So the beginning of the year, I'm going to be growing everything for market. And then in July, I believe, I'm going to be transplanting Brussels sprouts, more broccoli and stuff. Instead of cover cropping at the end of the year, I'm going to grow food for our freezer and for us into November, because I have low tunnels that I'm building to grow through the seasons. Not to mention cold season crops like it cool, but that's just what I'm trying to do. Beginning of the season is going to be for market. Some of it we'll probably get, you know, and any leftovers that don't get sold, we will obviously pressure can, and those will go on the shelf until I can get a license to sell such products. So nothing's going to go to waste. Any scraps that we have is going to be going to the rabbits, our little internal composters. And then we're going to, as you can see, I got a tarp right there. We're going to be tarping this whole plot. And this is ready 3 weeks early. It's about 3 weeks early it's ready. This is the first weekend in February. So we're getting this done as early as we possibly can because I want to have time for this compost to set. And I want to have time for this cover crop underneath to get terminated. And the ground's still slick. You want to make sure it still has a little moisture in it before you cover it up. And the compost still has a little moisture in it, so hopefully it could kind of help get things jump started. And then whenever I'm ready to plant, I will just uncover the tarp for every bed that I want to plant and leave the rest covered for planting time. So by March 1st, I'm hoping to have stuff direct seeded and probably even transplants in the ground growing. So we'll see how it goes. Let's go ahead and get this tarp covering this plot.